Tom Cruise is doing The Mash, the Monster Mash. That was really good. His new movie from Universal, The Mummy, dropped a teaser for a trailer, and we're going to go ahead and watch that now. Was it a graveyard smash? Let's watch the trailer. Here we go. It's Screen Junkies News, everybody. Here it is. Here's the teaser. Look at this. So fast. That was the 2 pupils, guys. Look at that. We've got Russell Crowe.
Oh, there we go.
Russell Crowe. There's our mummy right here at the end.
Arnold Vosloo has aged really well.
That is not who that is.
Oh. Well, since it's a woman, is she Mummy Dearest?
Mark
I can do the bad puns right there with you.
Mark Andreyko. This is actress Sophia. What was her last name? Botella. Sophia Botella, who was in Kingsman.
Knife Legs.
Knife Legs in Kingsman.
That's not her name, but...
She was in Star Trek Beyond. She played the alien character Star Trek Beyond. Fantastic new actress, and she's going to be playing the female mummy, which is really exciting. I personally forgot about this and watched the teaser this morning and was super excited about it. What do you guys think?
She's great.
I think it's great that there's a female mummy. I think it makes it fresh and makes it interesting. I think, the ancient Egyptian culture had tons of powerful women and all
Absolutely.
that. So it'll be really cool to see that Cleopatra. All that great stuff. I think the trailer, I think it's kind of silly that we have commercials for commercials announcing commercials that are going to be out in 6 weeks.
It was so short.
But I think I'm very excited. This looks so much more interesting. When you hear when they're going to put them all in the modern day, you're like, oh, is this going to work? And this, I'm excited to see the next commercial.
Absolutely,
Right.
yes.
Well, and we saw a quick glimpse of Russell Crowe, who he's playing Dr. Jekyll, I believe.
Yeah, he's playing Dr. Jekyll, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So that's obviously, I would kind of dismiss this a little bit out of hand more if it wasn't for the fact that, Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, the caliber of the cast is like, they're really doubling down on this, obviously, and not just, doing a soft open on this.
Absolutely. And why are they doubling down? Why are they doubling down, gentlemen? Because this is Universal's start of their Universal Monsters Cinematic Universe, the UMCM.
But actually, it's a reboot of that universe. Because in the 30s, it was the first shared universe.
That's true.
All those movies, all the Mummy and the Dracula and the werewolf movies and the Frankenstein movies all crossed over, even culminating with the great, underrated Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Great movie.
Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious.
Ironically, we're coming back to the first studio that did a shared universe is doing it again. And they should. These characters, kids are going to love this. As a kid, I loved watching those old monster movies on Saturday morning. And I think that the caliber of people are going to make it interesting for us, for adults.
Right.
I mean, like, wait a minute, who's doing who? Mm-hmm. And you've got great people involved. You've got Chris Morgan, who was the mastermind behind revamping the Fast and the Furious movies with 3 on. Full disclosure, Chris is a friend of mine. I want to let that known that I'm not playing favorites. But it's I'm excited for this. This is much more gratifying and interesting than I thought it ever had any right to be.
Really? Question then to Dan.
Yeah.
Do you think that this shared cinematic universe can play with the big boys, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the DC Extended Universe, the King Kong versus Godzilla thing that Legendary is setting up?
Which looks cool. Like Mark said, this is if you like the MCU, if you like the DCEU, this is literally the granddaddy of them all. They've done this before. This was a big hit with audiences. Audiences loved this before. Now, granted, that was a long time ago. But I think, again, with Tom Cruise, with Russell Crowe, the first Mummy, the Brendan Fraser Mummy, was a big hit. Sure. Audiences liked it. I think partially because it was a lot of fun, in addition to being a kind of a classic monster movie. Now, that Mummy did try to branch out and make Scorpion King and make more movies that kind of fell off. But I think that there's potential there. But I think you just can't lose that sense of fun and excitement.
And these seem like going to be more adventure, capital A, with horror and like a lowercase h.
Right.
They're not going to be horror movies. But, these characters, you talk about IP and the value of IP, all these characters are 100 years old or older. These characters predate all the superhero movies. Dracula, I think, is the most movies, the most interpretations
most adapted
of film.
Into
adapted into film. I think it's like him and then Sherlock Holmes.
Wow.
So these characters have been around forever, and everybody has their own version of them because a lot of them are public domain. Everybody can have a version that they attach themselves to and bring it in. So when you say Frankenstein to someone around the world, everybody has it, whether it's the green square one, or it's the Robert De Niro one, or even
the Munsters.
Or the Munsters. Yeah. Everybody, you already have these are pre-sold.
Did you say the Robert De Niro one?
Robert De Niro
I don't think a lot of people are pulling the Robert De Niro one.
Well, De Niro does.
Yes, he does.
If you're in Tribeca, you run into him.
I'm Frankenstein.
So this is a really smart thing, and I want them to be successful because I want to go to the Universal Monsters shared universe ride.
Yeah.
I want
Well, let's
all
talk
these
about some of
things.
these because we've got some conflicting reports. We've got some stuff that we know is coming down the pipeline. Let's throw up some of these images of some of these rumored actors that are starring in future
do this.
iterations of these films. First of all, we've got Johnny Depp has apparently signed on to play the Invisible Man, or is in talks to.
Well, this
what do we
makes
make of
sense.
this?
Johnny Depp has been going paler and paler
Yes.
and paler with every
Yeah.
role for the last 10 years, so he's just going to go invisible. That's the logical next step.
And the Invisible Man in the original movie, in the original book, the formula that makes him invisible makes him go completely insane.
Yeah.
So since we've been watching his midlife crisis for the past 9 months, I think this is the perfect time for him to play this.
I guess he's kind of done what you saw it a little bit with De Niro, Pacino a little bit, is these respected actors that spent years and years and years and years and years doing only underappreciated indie movies have now said, you know what? This is my bank years. I'm just going to sign on to the big ones.
We should call that the hoo-ha phase of actors.
I call it the De Niro, Rocky and Bullwinkle phase. That's what I call
yes,
it. That's
exactly.
What
A movie less referenced than the De Niro franchise.
Exactly.
Exactly. Let's throw up that next image. Other actors and projects we have rumored are Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as the Wolfman. What do we make of this?
Well, this makes sense to me because, when people bring up this, we're rebooting this Universal Monsters, people say, well, Benicio del Toro's Wolfman didn't work. And I think a lot of the reason why that didn't work is that it just looked very unpleasant. Like, you're trying to sell this movie, and it was very
what are you saying?
dark.
Are you saying that Wolfman should be more like the Incredible Hulk and more like a wish fulfillment, kind of like a superhero thing? Because The Rock can do that. The Rock is Shazam. The Rock is this incredible, childlike energy in this huge, massive body.
I just think that one of the reasons that the Wolfman was not an easy sell was that, when you're trying to do these huge blockbuster things, you don't want to go so far over the edge that it just looks like it's not going to be any fun whatsoever.
And Wolfman was R, wasn't it? It was brutal.
It was,
and it went through a number of directors. I know Joe Johnston came in like he came in late to save the movie.
Yeah.
And there's stuff in it that's interesting, but it's an R-rated movie, and we're also supposed to believe that Benicio del Toro is not only Anthony Hopkins' son, but he's a great Shakespearean actor in the 1800s. And Benicio del Toro is a great actor, but that's a lot. That's asking a lot of an audience. That's asking a lot of an audience.
And there is a place absolutely for dark body horror and dark R.
But I think there's different movies that do that.
Different
these
movies
days.
and different expectations.
Other werewolf movies have done it. The Howling and American Werewolf in London really had that. This can be the thing that I think is shown by was a Deadline reported this thing about Dwayne Johnson. I think originally was that. Dwayne Johnson and the Rock is such a likable guy that you have that torture, you have that sympathy for him. It's like Bruce Banner and the Hulk.
Yes.
You were engaged and you want to see him triumph over
That's
his
why
struggle.
Bill Bixby was the best, because you felt so sympathetic
just
for that.
so bad for him.
That's
So
the Hulk,
sad,
absolutely.
yeah.
So to clarify, the Benicio del Toro apparently not a part of this cinematic universe. We had Deadline reporting about the Wolfman thing, and along with the Invisible Man news with Johnny Depp, Hollywood Reporter was reporting that, go ahead and throw that up there, Angelina Jolie may be in talks to star as the Bride of Frankenstein, with possibly Javier Bardem in talks to play Frankenstein's monster.
This is just such obvious yet brilliant casting.
Absolutely.
I think a modern day take, talk about the body horror with the surgery and all the technology that you could do with Angelina Jolie, because she is just one of those actresses that treats everything with respect. Every performance she gives, she's committed, and she's just really an interesting performer. And I think Javier Bardem also is another guy who brings a soulfulness to his characters. Even when he's playing the monster in No Country for Old Men, you kind of want to know what happened to him. You kind of want to know what the damage that was done. There's a humanity in him that I think that's what's going to make these movies work. It can't just be makeup acting. It has to be, we have to care about them. This has to be Peter Parker and Bruce Wayne. This isn't just Optimus Prime. This has to be things that have a tether to the audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the duality of these characters is a lot of the appeal for them. The Wolfman, Frankenstein's monster, particularly the softness, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So they're casting, Oscar-winning, nominated A-list caliber actors in these roles.
That's crazy. Universal is throwing down some cash. The next one we have here is that although Tom Cruise was initially reported to be in Van Helsing, it looks like he hopped over to Mummy, and he's not going to be in the Van Helsing project. We've got a picture of Van Helsing, of course, played by Anthony Hopkins, but he's not going to be in this. The two writers that flank him are apparently going to be John Spates and Eric Heiserer. I hope I pronounced those correctly. So those are the writers that are tackling Van Helsing.
I think this is the third permutation of Van Helsing. We had the Stephen Sommers, Hugh Jackman one.
Yes.
Then the one that Tom Cruise was attached to predated the shared universe thing.
Correct.
And now I think they're going to fold him back in. It's a shame that Tom Cruise couldn't be playing that already in The Mummy. Maybe that's going to be
Right.
the surprise, because it seems like with a Tom Cruise actor, he could be the Nick Fury or the Tony Stark of the franchise. He can be the connective tissue for all of them.
Absolutely.
Which you need, especially if you're trying
Absolutely.
to sell this as doesn't matter what this movie is because it ties into the others. You have to have a very strong piece of connective tissue. That's what Marvel's doing with their movies now. They're realizing maybe we shouldn't isolate our heroes in their own solo movies. We need to have character hopping, and that just broadens
And
the
have it
audience.
make sense. And have it make sense.
Have
And
it
I
make
think,
sense. Yeah.
I think that in the world of monsters and Universal monsters, especially Van Helsing is already that through line, that connected through line. I would love to have Tom Cruise's character in The Mummy, who, again, we need to let you guys know in case you're not aware, all of these are modern day. That is the mandate. They all take place in the modern day. I think that it would be great to have Tom Cruise's character hop through different movies, but I feel like just story-wise, Van Helsing is the character that makes sense, or a descendant of, or whatever the case
Well,
may
and
be.
what all great horror has that makes it, no pun intended, universal is the underlying themes. And to see these horror themes, whether it's Dracula and the blood and disease and sensuality and sexuality, or Frankenstein, body horror and stuff like that, these all have, you can do modern interpretations of these that will resonate. So
Yes.
these lend themselves to reinterpretation.
Yes.
This isn't trying to put a square peg in a round hole. These actually, in the conception of these characters, lend themselves to reinvention. So they could do some really, really, really great stuff with these.
Really great stuff.
And it's smart to cast great actors, because I think at first blush, when people think about the Universal monsters, they think of just like, the shot of just, Karloff or
Sure.
Bela Lugosi or the Wolfman.
Cheesy,
but
black
Lon
and
Chaney
white.
as the Wolfman, when he wasn't the Wolfman, as Larry Talbot, was so tortured and was such a great performance. Bela Lugosi's Dracula was so kind of seductive.
Well, that's because he couldn't speak English.
Exactly,
He was doing
that's true.
phonetic pronunciation.
But he
which is
did great. It was great.
Boris
And
Karloff
Karloff's
was an amazing
Frankenstein
actor.
monster
Karloff
was
doesn't
great.
get enough credit for being a really, really good actor. He was acting under tons of makeup in
Yeah.
those movies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you watch those Frankenstein movies and the scene with the little girl and the flower, or the old blind man with the fiddle, those scenes are heartbreaking. He had no dialogue in those movies. So now that they're really upping the game, you have to put name actors in this, because these movies aren't cheap, and you have to hedge your bets and make the investment pay off.
Here's another name actor. You've got Scarlett Johansson apparently starring in Creature from the Black Lagoon as the female character in that, the female lead.
That's going to make $1 billion, because if she's in that white one-piece bathing suit being held by the monster, every man in America is going
On
to
the
go see
poster,
it.
there you go.
Yeah.
Every man around the world. Yeah, so that's what's happening. But let's talk a little bit about Dracula. So we have recently had a Dracula film called Dracula Untold. Now, I didn't get a chance to see it. Now I'm going to go rush out and see it, because we've got some conflicting reports about whether or not this movie from Universal is going to be a part of, or was the soft launch of this cinematic universe. Apparently, at the end of it, they shot a scene that took place in the modern day,
Yeah.
right, Mark? Is
Yeah.
that true?
There's a shot at a stinger at the end of a modern day scene of Dracula in an outdoor cafe. I think it might be in Paris. That there were rumors that they shot that specifically because the cinematic universe was announced after this was in production. And Dracula Untold is a wildly uneven movie, but Luke Evans is really great, and there's some really great stuff in it. It's not a great movie, but by no means is it a horrible movie. And I think with Luke Evans, they haven't confirmed if he's going to be Dracula in this
Right.
universe, but with Beauty and the Beast coming out, his stock value is
a
going
big
to
star.
rise. He's
Yeah.
going to become a big star. So it would make sense to kind of have that.
People like working with him. People like, seeing movies with him in it. And I think that Dracula's a character that you don't need to do another movie of to explain it. He's like a Batman character.
Yeah, it's
Everybody
like
knows
Spider-Man's
Dracula.
origin or
It's like
Batman's
Spider-Man.
origin. We all
We don't
know
need
that.
to cover it again.
Well, and yeah, the Hulk was, there was a Hulk movie before that didn't do well before the Avengers,
Ang
but
Lee
you
and-
hit the
yeah.
Avengers, and that's when people really connected to the Hulk.
Exactly. And I think another thing, too, is that it reminds me of the case where Dame Judi Dench was brought over as M in the James Bond reboot, and people didn't really seem to mind that she also played the same character in the previous movies with Pierce Brosnan. They were like, it's fine, she's so great, let's just keep her. So that might be the same case with Luke
And
Evans.
Dracula Untold is worth watching for Luke Evans.
Cool.
It makes sense. His interpretation will make sense in the modern day.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have to clarify, too. Apparently, Scarlett Johansson was only offered the role in Creature from the Black Lagoon. No word yet if she's starring, if she signed any paperwork, but she's very, very busy, and I think that it's just cool to see her name tossed in with these other names. It just means, again, we're just talking about the caliber of actors that they're going after, which is really, really exciting. Cool. So we got also an Elisa Phillips quote from Dracula Untold. She's a producer on Dracula Untold, and she says, I was really excited to be a part of that. When we started out, we weren't part of the Monsters universe, but when we found out that we were going to do it, working with Alex Kurtzman and Chris Morgan, who are very much a part of creating The Mummy and the other ones, it's been fun to be a part of that. So that kind of confirms that there's a possibility that's going to happen, and I feel like that quote is talking about shooting a sort of modern day stinger to get it to fit in there.
And Universal is really, really behind these movies. When I went over to Chris's office, the office is Frankenstein's laboratory. You go to the conference room, there's a fake bookshelf that they have all. They're immersed in the history of these characters, and they're taking it really seriously.
That's awesome.
And that's why it's taking so long to get going, because they want to make sure they're right. And I think this teaser, it's 20 seconds out of a 2-hour movie, but this 20 seconds has made me so much more interested and confident in the quality of these than I was before.
Now, but if this movie tanks or underperforms, although a mummy movie with Tom Cruise, that's globally, it's hard for me to believe that it would.
Right.
But you never know. I wonder if they're at a point where they can put the brakes on, if they've gone, if they're plot committed at this point.
I think that we've seen it with Warner Brothers to a certain extent, because I feel like publicly and maybe privately they weren't as stoked with the financial success of their previous 2 DC films. But I think that doesn't matter. I think we've gotten to a point now where these studios, these massive studios, are putting this much time and effort and money into creating shared universes. You guys got to hit the ground running. It means that you have a plan, stick to the plan, keep moving forward, adjust accordingly on your way. But they're not just going to reboot an entire thing if a mummy movie doesn't do well.
And also, too, Universal's pretty good of all the studios of keeping their blockbuster budgets reasonable.
Yeah.
If they produce this for even $170 million, they're going to make money on it just on fumes, because everyone's going to go see it.
Yeah.
And then you have the ancillary rights, you have video games, theme parks, all the merchandise, all the the box set of when these movies come out. How this is going to help the library Universal Classic movie.
Yes.
So I think unless it makes like $3 and no one sees it, I think there's going to be course corrections, of course.
Sure.
I think we're in for 5 or 6 of these.
Plus, if all else fails, just throw some minions in there.
Just throw some
You'll make
Minions,
$1 billion
Universal.
apparently.
Bring
There's
back
going to
Matt
be a
Damon.
live-action Minions movie. When we're 60, there's
I
going
know.
to be a live-action Despicable Me movie.
Don't do that. I was going to say the other thing Universal did is just bring back Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, or ask The Rock to be in it, and it will be fine. But I think our next segment is we were just going to ask the question: do people want this universe? And throw up that image of Brendan Fraser in the Mummy films. I mean, people really liked these movies. You go back and watch them, and I think that they're pretty bad.
The first one's a lot of fun.
But as a movie, they're I think that you can have fun movies, but kind of just do better overall. But either way, regardless, everybody is fond of them, and I think that we kind of answered the question ourselves: do people want these movies? I think people want this shared universe. I think we love these characters. These characters are characters like James Bond or Superman or Godzilla, where the characters themselves are better than any individual story. We just want to see them continually move on and on. The fact that Harry Potter's blowing it up at Universal Studios, now they're going to get Nintendo rides. I think Universal's like, let's make the Mummy, but like of stuff that people care about. Let's
Universal
do that.
Studios in LA now is a preferable, more fun park for adults than Disneyland.
Debatable, but that's fine. It's up there.
I visited both of them nearly back to back this earlier this year, and I don't. That's a hefty debate.
That's a hefty debate.
That's a hefty debate.
We're allowed to.
We just broke the internet with that debate. They're going to go ahead and have that debate for us. But speaking of the internet, Charlie, can you let us know, are people excited about this cinematic universe with monsters?
Guys, people are really excited. I'd say the majority of our commenters are really looking forward to this and have affection for the Mummy movies, and they're willing to see a modern take. We do have some really great questions that I would like to ask you guys. One being, if this is going to be a shared universe and there is a tie-in movie, who's the big bad? Who's their Thanos? Is it the devil?
Is it the devil?
Wow,
I would think
Well,
that...
you could do that, actually, because a lot of these characters are cursed and do abominable things. The Mummy is cursed with eternal life. Dracula is cursed by forsaking God and Christianity. The Wolfman's also a curse with witchcraft, which gets all witchy and satanic.
Yeah.
You could. That would be amazing if the big bad was the biggest bad of them all. If they all team up to fight Satan.
And who would be cast as him?
Oh my god!
Well, it's too bad Tim Curry. We can't just digitally lift him out of Legend and put him, because that was like the best devil performance ever.
In Legend.
Maybe
in
a Matthew
Legend.
McConaughey?
He's already doing that in the Dark
doing
Tower.
it?
He's playing Randall
Pretty
Flagg.
much,
who's
right?
awful.
Yeah, because
Let's bring Al Pacino back.
No.
Devil's advocate. No.
I've got a different take
No.
on it. I think we're going to get, instead of a big bad, I think we're going to get an anti-Avengers, a reverse Avengers, if you will, an inverse Avengers, where all of the bad guys are the monsters themselves. They're all being collected, and they will themselves form a sort of legion of monsters. And the hero in some kind of Avengers-type movie is just going to be Tom Cruise, some humans, Van Helsing maybe Dr. Jekyll. Like, I think that the
Russell Crowe.
human people are going to be fighting against a collection of monsters.
But I can't imagine they would invest that kind of money in movies where they're going to be the bad guys. I think it might be more along the lines of sort of the concept of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Okay.
A human gathers them together and has to keep them
Or maybe
all
a Suicide
working.
Squad or
Suicide
Guardians of the
Squad
Galaxy.
sort of
Right,
thing like that.
they go against the grain. But yeah,
And it would be great if the big bad in this monster universe was a human.
yeah, that would be
You
great.
know.
A businessman.
Maybe
And one
it's
other,
Dr.
one other
Jekyll.
quick question. Johnny in our comments had a great idea. If they were to do an Abbott and Costello, Key and Peele meets the Wolfman.
Key and Peele
God.
meet Wolfman.
They are our modern day Abbott
That
and
would be
Costello.
amazing.
Well,
That
you
would
already
be
have
fantastic.
Russell Crowe. Throw in Ryan Gosling and have them meet Frankenstein. Ryan Gosling did a callback to Abbott and Costello
Yeah.
and Frankenstein in The Nice Guys, which is
Awesome.
hilarious.
Awesome.
I would love to see
yeah.
Shane Black do Abbott and Costello
Yeah.
meets Frankenstein
Yeah.
movie.
That'd
It
be
would be on
great.
Christmas, of course.
Buddy movie,
Yes.
of course, yes.
Some naked woman would be in a pool.
Haunted Christmas.
Sold.
Done.
Greenlit.
It's done. We've got some other comments from Twitter, you guys. We were asking what kind of fan casting you would like to see. We've got at QuietLight00 said Zach Galifianakis is the Wolfman. What do you think about that? As
Well,
a
I
funnier
mean,
Wolfman?
You wouldn't have to do any makeup, so you save a little
You'd
bit
probably
of
have
money.
to do some waxing.
Probably
actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Be a hashtag one man Wolfpack. Ah, very good. Very nice. Also, Manime Conquest says Doug Jones is Nosferatu.
Doug Jones is actually playing Nosferatu.
What?
They announced last year that Doug Jones was doing a remake of Nosferatu,
Very
and they
cool.
showed some costume photos. So,
I'm
and they also
imagining it's
announced
perfect.
since then another Nosferatu remake
Yeah.
being done because that's
Yeah.
all public domain finally. But I don't know if the movie got made or if the movie's in production now. But I've seen pictures of Doug in Nosferatu makeup and I saw it on one of the website.
That'd be exciting.
So
That'd
you
be
were
exciting.
ahead of your time.
You were ahead of your
Yep.
time. So I guess little final thoughts on this, Dan. Let's start with you. We're excited. It seems like. What are you most looking forward to?
I mean, we'll look at this trailer. I'm sure since it's a Universal trailer and they own NBC, we'll be looking at the rest of it during Sunday Night Football
Okay.
on Sunday night. That would be my guess.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would be a little more wary of this if they were not really recruiting some great talent. And Tom Cruise is one of the last true actual movie stars in that
Yes.
he just has that charisma and can open a movie and can sell a movie just through sheer force of will. I mean, he commits 100% to everything he does. So, this would be something I would be much more skeptical of, but given the talent that they're recruiting around it, I'll give it a chance. I'm anxious to see.
Yeah, they're coming out of the
what's
gate
up next.
strong. To
Yeah.
reiterate what you said, the Tom Cruise thing, that's a big deal. This isn't getting, when other name actors have played superheroes, whether it was Andrew Garfield or even Robert Downey Jr.,
Sure.
they weren't at the height of their powers.
True.
Tom Cruise is, like you said, the last big movie star.
and they got
winning with
Dwayne
Tom
Johnson,
Hanks.
Angelina Jolie. These
Yeah.
are top of their game actors. Top of their game. So
All the casting they've announced, even if it's rumored, makes you go, oh, I would see that movie.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great final word, Mark. And also, before we go, why don't you go ahead and promote your upcoming projects? I want to make sure that in case people are tuning in, that they're aware of what you're doing because it's all awesome stuff.
Oh, sure. On December 21st, Love is Love is coming out. It's a 144-page anthology that I spearheaded. It's being co-published by IDW and DC Comics. It's $10. It's all to raise funds for the survivors and victims and families of the Orlando Pulse shooting last June in Orlando. And it's got some of the biggest names in comics. It's got a lot of film stars and people from literature and theater. It's there are going to be some big announcements of some people that we are holding off announcing until the ink is dry. One of them, some of these guys know already, will crack the internet in half.
Yep.
You can pre-order the book today at Amazon or at idwpublishing.com or at your local comic book store. Every penny goes to the victims. There's no skimming off. Everything was donated from the artists, the editors, the letterers, the colorists, the paper, the printing press. So every penny from this $10 book goes to help someone. And I've seen the final product. It's a beautiful, overwhelming book. If you want to do something and feel good about yourself for Christmas, every copy of this is going to help change someone's life. And it's a beautiful book. And when these final names are announced, it's going to sell out.
Big.
So
Yeah.
pre-order it today.
Yeah.
Go pre-order it, guys. Well, thank you so much, Mark Andreyko, for being here. Thank you so much, Dan Morrell. Really appreciate it, guys.
Always.
Guys, that was our Screen Junkies news take on the teaser trailer for The Mummy. We've got a bunch of stuff every single day, so you guys can be tweeting at us at SJ News. Here you can watch some videos right here, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with some more stuff. Bye.